Captain Kirk, the Panthers salute you. Wow. What is a postseason run without a little bit of luck? You need it. You need luck. There's no problem with being lucky, and all the good teams do it. Even Brady and Mahomes need luck on their side to make a Super Bowl run. And I'm not saying that's where the Panthers are destined, but their postseason path is a lot more clear. It's easier. It's in their control. It's their division to lose now. This is no longer the Panthers slowly creeping up to the Bucs. This isn't several years of consecutive division titles for the Buccaneers. That seems more like a surefire and something that's going to be coming down to the end. Well, it's still going to come down to the end. The Panthers are still going to need to take care of business against this Saints team. This Saints team that at this point in history is better coached than the Bucs. Brandon Staley has given you some trouble. He gave you a lot of trouble. Bryce Young, trouble specifically in the most recent game in Week 10 against the Saints. Tyler Shough's on top of the world, 2-3 in his last 5. The 6'5", I call him great value brand, knockoff brand, generic Josh Allen. Generic Josh Allen. And you never trust a rookie. You never trust a book and judge a book by its cover. You never judge a rookie by their first few games. But he's looking special. It's a guy that you're going to have to hold your own against. But this Bucs team is completely imploding. The stars could not be better aligned for the Panthers right now. And you always need to take Baker Mayfield seriously. I know he threw that really bad interception to D. Alford, who is a phenomenal player in Atlanta. That guy's beaten the Panthers a couple of times. That interception he had in the fourth quarter against Baker, I would say the turning point in that game, turning point in that Falcons versus Buccaneers game was D. Alford essentially confusing Baker. Baker thought he had Mike Evans one-on-one. And D. Alford baited him into making that aggressive throw and jumped out of the gym to catch the interception. Ultimately, the Falcons go down the field and score a touchdown. What I found so ironic is how many chances the Falcons how many times the Falcons almost cost themselves the game. Whether it's Darnell Mooney fumbling the ball in front of 5 Buccaneers. I don't know how the Bucs didn't come away with that. Kirk Cousins fumbling it. They go for 2 for no reason in the fourth quarter. There's zero reason to go for 2. Other than, I guess, you try to extend your lead more, but it's like you can easily tie them by just kicking extra points, and they continue to go for 2. That was the most Falcons win I've ever seen, where it's like you have Bijan Robinson juking guys out, doing moves that no one has done in NFL history. Look at like Barry Sanders out there. You have this pass rush that continues to get home. James Pierce Jr. We're going to talk about Nick Scorton, who's going to be a key in the Panthers playoff run, rather. He is Optimus Prime. I think that guy is going to be 20 sacks. He's going to be a superstar. James Pierce Jr. had 2 sacks against the Bucs on Thursday Night Football. And the Falcons pulled through. Who would have thought Kirk Cousins, 373 yards, 30 of 44 with 3 touchdowns. The numbers are a tiny bit misleading. I think the Bucs completely fell apart, and Cousins almost had a few turnovers at a couple points in that game too. But needless to say, you got an OG Kirk Cousins game, and the Bucs completely imploded. And I think where I feel different compared to yesterday, so before the Falcons beat the Bucs, before I watched that game, how I feel now about the Saints game coming up, the decisive games you're going to have against the Bucs down the stretch, NFC South is the Panthers to lose. I believe that. You're still going to have to go out and win it, though. You're still going to have to show up and win these games and play really good football consistently, which the Panthers really have not been able to do that this season. The consistency part. Bryce Young is going to be so key to this team. One, because you're going into a game where Tyler Shough just downright outplayed Bryce Young. Bryce Young looked really bad. He got baited by Alontae Taylor on that interception in Week 10 against the Saints. He was confused, had no idea what was happening. This is a guy who's touted for decision-making. He was drafted for the cerebral elements of his game. Partly, in addition to the DTA, decision-making, timing, and accuracy. On that play, Alontae Taylor completely confused the Panthers quarterback. In that game as well, he looked rattled. Young looked rattled in Week 10 against the Saints. We need Young to play consistently, and I say that's a key because Baker Mayfield's going to score points. There's no way around that. Tyler Shough, he had 2 running touchdowns against the Bucs. He's playing really well. He's up and coming. He's one of the hottest names in football right now. And I trust these teams. The Seahawks, they're going to score points. But let's put the lens on the Bucs. This Bucs team might not be able to play defense. Whether it's Levante David taking a step back, whether it's some of the injuries, they had a safety out, a couple injuries in the secondary. Jamel Dean, who is a superstar corner for them. He's pretty much their Jaycee Horn, allowing a 26.6 passer rating this season, which ranks first in the NFL, just 201 receiving yards allowed, which is the second fewest, 17 receptions, 41.5 completion rate allowed. So he is at the top of the league in a lot of these categories. He was banged up. This Bucs defense isn't the strength of the team. And I don't think they ever were really the main strength. It's like you had Brady and Baker in these recent years and these explosive offenses. The defense has been still at least middle/top of the pack. Well, down the stretch, we're learning with this Bucs defense that they're banged up. Their secondary is just miscue central. So much so that Todd Bowles had this to say after the game. His job might be on the line in Tampa Bay as the Bucs and Panthers down the stretch will be competing for the NFC South. Here's how Todd Bowles sounds after a really important loss that will have huge implications in the Panthers playoff race. It's their divisional lose now, Carolina. It's your divisional lose. Here's Todd Bowles.
We saw this Falcons team move the ball so well 2 games last year. To see Pitts and Robinson get open as often as they did, how does that happen?
Doesn't happen. We played bad technique. A few guys played some bad things, and it's inexcusable because we knew it all week and just didn't execute it.
What do you tell them in the locker room after a game like this?
It's inexcusable. You don't make excuses. You got to care enough where the shit hurts. You got to care enough where the shit hurts. It got to mean something to you. It's more than a job. It's your livelihood. How well do you know your job? How well can you do your job? Well, you can't sugarcoat it. It was inexcusable, and there's no answer for it. There's no excuse for it. And that's what you tell them in the locker room. Look in the mirror.
Coach.
It's the awkward silence at the end for me. Coach. You could literally put that over a 50 Cent beat, and it would sound so good. He used about 50 F-bombs in that press conference. And I told you about this earlier this week. I said, Bowles has a lot to coach for. And let's revisit that storyline. I was a little bit concerned about Canales versus Bowles. I go, we all are guilty of this. We're all human. When there's a fire under you, you pay a little more attention to detail. When you think you can lose your job, hopefully you don't think that. But in the case of Todd Bowles, where your job is on the line potentially, you're not holding your end of the bargain. You're 1-3 in the playoffs. You haven't been uplifting that defense like Evero is in Carolina. They're underplaying. They're miscues all over the field. How many times they let Kyle Pitts run uncovered? Uncovered. I was amazed. McCollum got beat a couple times. The play that ended it all was the 4th and 14. So if you didn't watch the game, I actually didn't even watch it live. I woke up and rewatched it like 4 a.m. And the fourth quarter was nuts. So you're up 28-14 if you're the Bucs. 28-14, they're up. Yes, Baker throws the interception. But they're letting the Falcons just move the ball with ease on offense. Ultimately, it is, I believe it's on the final drive of the game. So the Falcons have a 3rd and 28. 3rd and 28. They come away with a 14-yard pass to Pitts. And it's, bend, don't break at that point. They blitzed on the 2 previous plays the Bucs did. It's 3rd and 28 for the Falcons. Now they're playing bend, don't break. So it's 4th and 14. The deciding moment of the game, arguably. And instead of protecting the sticks, protecting the first down line, they leave David Sills, who is awesome in college. They leave him wide open. So he runs right past the corner in coverage. And then the safety's like 10 yards behind him. I'm like, they just have no idea where the first down line is. Like, it's just a complete lapse in coverage. And those things happen all day. And I think Pitts, he's always good for one game like that, isn't he? Kyle Pitts is always good for one game where he has freaking 3 touchdowns. I believe it was close to 150 yards. I have the number in front of me. 11 catches, 166 yards, and 3 touchdowns. 15 yards a catch. 12 targets for Kyle Pitts. 12 targets, 166 yards for Kyle Pitts. And it was nothing that he did that was that special. He was wide open underneath. McCollum was in coverage a couple times, just burning past him. And I think Bowles feels the heat. A lot of this comes down to execution, but it's like guys aren't even doing the right thing. They're not in the right place. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what they're doing. And that's something that Evero has done really well this season. And I think players like Josh Smith-Wade, Trevin Wallace, who have looked like that at points in their career. In other words, Smith-Wade and Wallace, they have looked like the Bucs defense has at points during their career. Because they're not Tetairoa McMillans. They're not these ready-made college studs, just superstars that almost exist independent of coaching. It's like he's going to go and have 1,500 yards regardless of what the coaching is. I'm not saying it's that extreme, but I just use the hyperbole to illustrate. Shaw Smith-Wade, Trevin Wallace, Mike Jackson even, to a lesser extent. Claudin Cherilus, this idea that you can just plug and play these players on the offensive line and hold Micah Parsons to 0 pressures, was it? 0 pressures and 2 tackles in Green Bay. This idea that the Panthers can just plug and play these guys and have it work. The Bucs aren't getting that. You know what the deciding factor is, though, between the Bucs and the Panthers? You know what the main X factor deciding the NFC South could be? It's the quarterback position. And as long as Baker Mayfield has Mike Evans, has Godwin, who had a touchdown last night, Bucky Irving, he's back. Their offense is just so explosive that I don't care how bad Bowles F's it up or how much that Bucs defense fails to execute. They still have Baker, and you still have to play Tyler Shough this week. And with that, I'm going to go to the comments. As mentioned, I had to kind of steer away from the comments the first half of this show just because there was the news. And I did have a couple people comment overnight, which is hilarious. Like, people left comments on videos overnight that I did see. But this one comes from Pantherhead13. So we hope he doesn't actually have a panther head. Whether he's like Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie Revenant, He's just like holding a panther head in his hand, or maybe he literally has the head of a panther. He's like some sort of mythological creature. I actually don't even know the gender of the panther head. So he or she writes, Pantherhead, Tyler Shough is no easy pushover as we, the Panthers, saw in our first game against them being the Saints. We really need to bring our A game and can't take for granted at this point in the season. I would feel much better if we were going up against Spencer Rattler, LOL. So there's a lot there I got to break down. Really good comment. Spencer Rattler is not nearly the quarterback that Tyler Shough is proving to be. I know some people in the comments have wrote that they think Shough is the byproduct of being in his first few games and teams not having a lot of tape. I think the guy's genuinely talented. I think you saw it in week 10 when the Panthers played the Saints. He can make all the throws. He is really good in the pocket, which I think has been Bryce Young's weakness. Like, you could literally synonymize, is that a word? You could say that Bryce Young's inconsistency is the same as how Bryce Young looks in the pocket. So that's more of like an illustration of Bryce Young's consistency. He's inconsistent because some games he looks completely rattled back there. He looks rushed. He's running around, and it's a confidence thing. Other times it's like, I don't know if he gets in his own head and feels he has to do more to get out of the pocket or move around and doesn't trust himself to make the throw. I know some people think it's like a visual thing. I think it's more so he has games where he has muddy pockets like he did against Atlanta. He had a record-breaking performance, 400-plus yards in that game. The pockets weren't great. The Falcons were there. James Pierce had a hand on his shoulder pad, and he's still making the throws. Tyler Shough has looked amazing in the pocket for the most part. And especially, I noticed it in that game, Saints vs. Panthers, week 10. And then he can also run it, too. I mean, now they're comparing him to Josh Allen because he had that 2-touchdown, 50-plus yard rushing game in treacherous, rainy weather in Tampa. A really impressive win. This guy is hot. He is not Spencer Rattler, as Pantherhead writes. He is not Spencer Rattler, as Pantherhead writes. And it's no easy pushover beating the Saints team. Which brings me to another point. I think the Saints are on the up and up in the NFC South. The Saints remind me of the 2024 Panthers, where you have a quarterback who's kind of coming on. I think Brandon Staley and Kellen Moore, that's a really good coaching duo. And I know they started 1-9. Staley is a freaking awesome coordinator. I think he knew exactly how to target Bryce Young in week 10. Kellen Moore, I actually have more faith in Kellen Moore to develop a quarterback than I do Dave Canales. And I think Dave Canales has a lot of skills. I think he's really good. I think culture, collaboration. I think what he's built in terms of even the personnel decisions that he's been responsible for. I think he was largely motivating of Evero to put some of these rookies on the field. He goes, Ajiro, look, trust the rookies. Clearly had a part in the T-Mac pick. Was central to them bringing in Rico Dowdle. It was a guy that Skip Peets, who is a friend of Canales. Peets recommended Dowdle to Canales. So I think he's done a lot right culturally. Even this idea that Todd Bowles is at the podium right now, dropping F-bombs, it's imploding. The guys aren't playing hard. They don't know what they're doing. I think Canales runs a tight ship. I think Canales is a CEO, which is what Pete Carroll largely was. I think he is a CEO for coach. Kellen Moore, on the other hand, I don't know if he has some of those soft skills, but in terms of like, okay, this guy's in the ear of a quarterback, he's the quarterback whisperer. I think Kellen Moore is really good at that. So do not underestimate this Saints coaching staff as the Panthers get ready to play Tyler Shough. As Pantherhead 13 writes, do not underestimate Shough. Do not. And you cannot underestimate this Bucs offense that you could be competing with. So you want to take care of business against the Saints this weekend. It's an insurance policy. That's what Mike K writes of the Panthers beat. This is an insurance policy. Win this game against the Saints, so then those games against the Bucs down the stretch don't matter as much. You could clinch the division with 2 straight wins. You could do that. 2 straight wins for the Panthers. Can they do it? Can they do it? Can they beat the Rams, then beat the Saints, then beat the Bucs? In that order. Imagine that sequence. Imagine NFL headlines. I shouldn't get you this hyped up. Because if you're working out right now, like St. Crimson tweets, you might be getting ready to bench 600 pounds, in his words. I shouldn't get people this hyped up. I shouldn't. But that could happen. And if you have those wins consecutively, you beat the Rams, the Saints, and the Bucs, oh my gosh. Pat McAfee might do a 25-minute segment. Pat McAfee might give you a 30-minute, you might be national. I'm telling you, Fox News is already talking about Tyler Shough. They took a break from covering the White House to talk about Tyler Shough. Literally. I was like, what the heck? So, who knows? Bryce Young might be acting president if they win the next 2 straight games. The Panthers take care of business. Let's talk about this. I saw this comment come from Shane and Jack. So 2 related comments. They didn't comment at each other, but I saw them in tandem. So Shane H1 writes, Shane's a great commenter. I actually read his comments all the time. And Shane writes, how many coaches could turn around a defunct team and take them to the playoffs in only the second year? Question mark. Unicorns, writes Shane. And there's a bunch of space for emphasis. Unicorns. Calling Dave Canales a potential unicorn if he's able to pull off this playoff berth. If Canales, has good game plans and calls good plays, but the team falls short, I don't think that disappointing outcome is all on him. So I totally agree with this. I think in terms of, one, it's like you got to look at it. Who has the blame this season? Who has cost the Panthers the most? But also, who has the power? It's like the Lord of the Ring. I don't even know the movie that well, but it's the ring. Who has the ring? Who's that little guy that they have? Precious. Who has the ring? It's Bryce Young. All right, that was unintentionally the analogy that I was going to use. He's the what is it, the Hobbit? You know, the guy that like skips around? He hides in his little den. Precious! Ah! So who has the ring right now? It is Bryce Young. I agree with Shane. I think, one, if Canales is able to take this team to the playoffs, I think that is more remarkable than a lot of the other coaches in the Coach of the Year run. I think what you're seeing with Vrabel in New England is it's tough to turn a blind eye to. I think I underestimated or underrated that, rather. I think McDaniels is an amazing OC. I think they have a well-oiled operation. I think those guys hit hard. That Monday night game against the Giants, holy crap. I haven't felt that much fear in a sports outing since I watched Khabib beat Conor McGregor. What was that, 2018, 2019? Where I literally hid in the closet because I'm like, I hope this guy Khabib doesn't find me. That was the literal scariest sports moment ever. And if you know that fight, you know that fight. The Patriots playing the Giants on that Monday night game, they were just annihilating. Whether it's Jackson Dart, I think Theo Johnson a couple of times, they hit hard. Their defense, I think, has a personality and tone to it, similar to what you saw in the early 2000s. And obviously a lot of that because of how the game has evolved. The game's an offensive game, the rule changes, etc. The Patriots are unique in the sense that they're able to play the game really tough and nasty and not get some of the disciplinary issues that might arise from playing that brand of football. I think that team, culturally, it's tough to say Canales has been better than Vrabel. If he makes the playoffs, though, I don't know, man. You're talking about years of bad decision-making in this franchise, years of being the butt of the joke, years of being just disastrous. I think as much as you want to look at the quarterback, this is what the story is for Canales. They haven't been able to develop talent. They haven't been able to do it. I think since Tepper has bought the team, how many guys, there's DJ Johnsons, the Shi Smiths, just the guys that they bring in, and it's like nothing happens. They don't develop these guys. Now you really have a core of young players. It's not just Jaycee Horn. It's not just the first-round talent. It's the Chaw Smith-Wades, the Trevin Wallaces, the Christian Rosebooms, the Cade Mays, the Rico Dowdles, the Jalen Cokers. Those guys that are making a difference now. And historically, you've never been able to do that, at least in the Tepper era. So serious run, as Shane H. writes, unicorn status for Dave Canales. Now, Jack writes, Jack Watson 2776 writes, I was critical of the play calling in that 49ers game where Canales obviously ran it on or threw the ball first and goal from the 1. Just a completely stupid play call. Should have ran it with Dowdle. And Jack puts a little bit more control on Canales. I think the Panthers have a decent shot to win every remaining game and make it to the playoffs. Hot take. Provided we continue this game plan and don't do any more first and goal passing plays. It's only up from here. The more time Bryce and Canales spend together, the better we'll be. I partly agree with this. I think the more time side of it, well, it's been almost 2 years now. They have 20 plus games to figure this out. They have a coaching staff that's been consistently here. A wide receivers coach that's been here since 2024. A quarterbacks coach that's been here since 2024. The time for Bryce to elevate is now. The time for him to elevate was yesterday. For him to be consistently good, that ship has sailed. And that's why I think these 4 games are decisive in the sense that you could be talking about a new quarterback coach or OC potentially in 2026 if Bryce isn't able to elevate down the stretch. Because the consistency, it has not been there for the long view in this Canales regime. But I totally agree. I mean, Canales has had some bad moments as a play caller. I lean more towards Shane's comment, which is, I think they've had opportunities. How does Young look in the pocket? Does he look afraid to make the throw down the field? Maybe he doesn't see people. I always thought it was more so in the line of confidence. Some people think it's like he literally can't see the receivers going downfield. I think he can. He just needs to be really fluid and loose. Like some of the things that Josh Allen gets away with, he can get away with because he's 6'6". Or Shough, who's 6'5". Like, they can have imperfect footwork because they're so big and they can see everything and they have elite arm strength. Young obviously doesn't have that privilege. This guy quickly is going to be a key to the game, key down the stretch. The Falcons, you saw it in real time. Just an elite, talented team. And I'm going to tell you, they've always been this way. The Falcons have always had a lot of talent. Julio Jones. Remember they had those running backs, Coleman and Devontae Freeman. And they've always had a lot of talent on that team. I think they just haven't really achieved anything that great. And with the talent, rather. And I think this season for the Falcons has been exactly that. What you saw against the Bucs last night was the most Falcon game ever. Now, they pulled off the win. It would have been a little more Falcon if they lost the game. If they lost the game because Darnell Mooney fumbled. If they lost the game because Kirk Cousins fumbled. This team had 5 sacks. I think they have an elite pass rush. They can rush 4 and get home consistently. James Pierce Jr., 6 games with a sack consecutively. He is nasty. He is nasty. Well, how about your guy, Nick Scorton? Nick Scorton. How is he going to step up? I think he could be a key down the stretch. I think you're going to need a pass rush to emerge. I think one of the cool things about that Rams win is you had Derek Brown forcing a clutch strip sack at the end. You were able to get after Stafford, disrupt Stafford's rhythm in the second half. If we're talking about Bryce Young needing to pace Baker Mayfield, needing to pace Tyler Shough, needing to pace Sam Darnold, a pass rush is the antidote to that. A pass rush is the antidote to maybe your pass game not having a perfect game. Maybe Bryce Young doesn't have a complete game like he had against the Falcons. Maybe Bryce Young doesn't have a really good second half like he had against the Rams. Well, what's the antidote to that? You have a pass rush that disrupts the other side. And I don't think the Panthers have the talent of the Falcons in terms of the edge rushers that they have and the pass rush ability. I think Derek Brown is your most consistent and best pass rusher. And he's not inherently a pass rusher. Like, I know the guy can do everything, but he's not a flashy, can just blow by a tackle, speed pass rusher. He holds his own. He's really good. It's just like they need the fast, blows off the edge, Von Miller style. You saw it with James Pierce. You continue to see it with him, where it's just explosive. It's dynamic. There was one play with Pierce where the tackle is doing a good job, and Pierce is so far behind Baker that I think he's not even in the television shot. He's yards behind Baker, but the tackle's holding his own and makes this beautiful pocket for Baker, and Pierce still kind of just doesn't give up on the play, strains, and gets home to Baker. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And in that instance, you just see all the elements, the length of Pierce to be able to get a hand on Baker, the speed that even if he gets beat at the beginning of the rep, he's still able to recover and make up for it with his flash and finesse. And as we talk about this next point, this comes from, I don't know this name in terms of like how to say it, but Okendor 887 sounds like Dumbledore. So maybe he's like living in Hogwarts or something. He writes, a bunch of mock drafts recently are mocking another wide receiver to the Panthers round one. I've actually seen this. So in the preliminary mock drafts, which I'm not reading these as much right now at this point in the season with the playoffs on the line, but this is a good way to end the show. Okendor says, am I crazy in thinking that we absolutely don't need another offensive player round one? I feel like T-Mac and Coker and maybe even Leggett are only going to get better next year. We'll have Brooks and Mitchell Evans, who show a lot of promise. Don't we need to finally go defense first round? I could not agree more. I think you've gone first round offense since 2022. And then you combine the trade-ups you've had to get Young and Leggett to a lesser extent. You gave up less to get Leggett. Well, in theory, you traded Brian Burns partly to get Leggett. So, you've invested everything in this offense. Financially, you spent $150 million on the offensive line in 2024. You've given up multiple first-round picks to get the quarterback. You drafted a left tackle in 2022. You just extended Taylor Moton. You might even extend Ekwonu in the offseason. Some people are talking, I got one comment asking if the Panthers are going to extend Rico Dowdle. So now you could be paying two running backs top dollar. I don't know if they'll do that, especially with how the offensive line is getting paid now. It's like, how much are they going to spend on offense? I guess that's the privilege of having a quarterback who is not making a ton of money. They didn't have to pay Bryce Young a lot of money yet. But I totally agree with this comment. I think it would be crazy not to go defense. And he names Mitchell Evans there. I think Mitchell Evans is a blocking tight end. I think he's a number 2. I think he reminds me of who was the guy in Buffalo for all those years? With Lee Miller? He was freaking awesome. Or Lee. Heath Evans, another name. Heath Evans from Pittsburgh. He actually had some statistical production, but just big tight end, reliable hands, not flashy. He's not Kyle Pitts getting 166 yards on Thursday Night Football against the Bucs, but he's good enough. I do think they need another pass catcher. I think they need another playmaker on that offense, a guy specifically who gets separation. Because I think the more you see with Young, he's afraid to throw the ball to Coker and McMillan sometimes when they don't have a lot of separation. It's fine that they don't have a lot of separation. You can't throw your hands in the air that Jalen Coker, 6'3", 200-plus pounds, and McMillan, 6'4", 200-plus pounds, aren't getting Antonio Brown-style 5 yards of separation. I just think if you were building an ideal receiving core, you would have a guy who's a little more flashy and can get separation. Now in the draft, are they going to go first round receiver? I think it would help, but I think they have to go defense. And I think they really need a pass rusher. You see what James Pierce is doing there in Atlanta. I think they wanted Jalen Walker last season. I think Pierce is even better than Walker, to be honest. But besides the point, the Panthers wanted Walker last season. Now maybe they take the approach what they tried to do potentially in 2025, which is trade down, recuperate some picks. The Rams obviously were giving the Panthers, I think, an offer of 2 first-round picks at one point. So maybe they do that, but I don't know. I think they have to go defense to some extent. Maybe it's a trade down to maximize value. Who knows? That's the draft. We're not thinking about that because this is the tone and the playoffs are going, but we love Okendorf for being proactive. Because who knows? I mean, Dan Morgan wasn't thinking of the quarterback. Some people literally thought that. Some people, I'm not going to name them, they're speaking in a microphone. They're going, Dan Morgan, no, he doesn't care. The Graziano report's wrong. He doesn't even think of Bryce Young. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to do some breath work. This is the tone. Playoffs are happening. I've had 2 Celsius this morning because I needed to get up literally. Oh, this one still has some juice in it. I had to get up real early to watch the film and give you this, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Now I actually have to go work my real job. This is the tone.